If you are in this class, you probably watched this.
On hearing the name John D. Rockefeller.
My name is Carlos, I'm from Brazil, and I am one of the Magnate's media editor. Today, I'm gonna show you the secrets behind this intro that impacted more than 3 million people. I hope this class helped you to reach another level on YouTube. I'm looking forward for your feedback. Let's come with me. Before we start with the tools, we need to talk about the conception, the ideas. A lot of people like to use techniques to find out their ideas, but I prefer to follow a more natural flow. The first step to bring up those ideas, we need to understand what is being said. As for this video, we will talk about a specific part of the video, which is the intro. We need to understand firstly what makes a good intro. In general terms, a good intro is made by the connection between 3 main pillars. Firstly, for the script, I don't have much to say. John is one of the best scriptwriter on the YouTube, and if you are here in this course, you probably have enough knowledge to build up a good structure for your script. Now, for my area of expertise, video. We need to understand the backbone of the script. It's the part to connect words to sensations. It's the part to connect all the emotions that was written by a scriptwriter before. There is no point to going too far with cinematography and complex effects. The video can be beautiful on their own, but if not connected with the script, it is not just more than a pretty video. For create this connection, I like to read as many times as possible the script. So in that way, firstly, I will read it as the script writer. I will think what this guy was thinking when he was writing this thing. Secondly, I read it as the main character, the protagonist. So I will understand the feeling, the phase of his life and put it in the video. Finally, I like to read it as the viewers, so I need to understand where is boring or where I need to put this more engaging video. After doing this empathy exercise, you will understand better where you need to put more vibrant colors to highlight a character achievement, where you need to decrease it to show or some depression phase that he is passing by. In this moment, the ideas will start to growing up, sometimes even visuals one. Before we keep with the video, I need to point about the last thing I mentioned about, that is audio. It is very useful to enhance the emotion that we already made it in the script and then to the video to the next level. The audio will make your video gain life or lose life. It all depends how you do this. Now, let's get back to our production that we already have some ideas. We will start our first technical steps, which is search and collect some reference. We have a lot of tools to search for reference. I always use Pinterest, Behance, YouTube or Vimeo to it. Starting with Pinterest, which is my favorite, we have some advantage on it. When we start to search, deeper and deeper we going through, more current and specific results we will have. Now collect here as many references as possible. Go to the script and which part that we have in the script, separate around 2 or 3 references for each sentence or paragraph. Don't fool yourself. This part is very important. Even later, if you don't use anything that you are collecting here, it will be very helpful to bring up better ideas. The process we made here in Pinterest is all the same for the other platform as well. With all those references collected, we will start to build up our scenes. Well, now that I already showed you guys all my pre-productions process, we will talk about assets. For the image, I like to use 2 different sources. The first one is the traditional Google image. You just need to search what you need and it will show up. But now I am using a lot of artificial intelligence, which is Midjourney. This tool enhance a lot of my process. Now I don't need to adapt my ideas to the material. I can adapt the materials to my idea. For this introduction of Rockfeller video, I use just these 2 sources. I organized all my assets here on folders, and I will leave the link in the description with all those assets so you can just follow the steps. I highly recommend you to make something original, but if you don't want it to, the link will be in the description below. Now for the video assets, I only use Envato Elements. There has a lot of footage, a lot of assets from just alpha video that I use myself on this video to 3D objects. Talking about 3D objects, unfortunately, the Envato ones are not editable. So for the 3D objects, I used the Sketchfab. Especially for this video, I paid an artist who was selling this model on the platform. But there are a lot of free assets to download. My goal here is not to show you how to use these tools, but through the process you'll probably see a little about this. Now that we already have our ideas, our assets and all of that organized, we will start with our tools. For this video and for all of the video from Magnate Media, we use a dub package, After Effects for the animations, Premiere for the audio and merge the chapters, and Photoshop to manipulate the image assets for the After Effects. Inside After Effects, I have some paid plugins. I have the Red Giant package, which have a lot of plugins into, and I have Element 3D from Video Copilot, which is a plugin that brings After Effects a 3D interface where you can play around with 3D objects. Today, After Effects already have a 3D solution, but I prefer to use Element 3D anyway. You can buy Element 3D from Video Copilot, and you can buy the Red Giant package on its website. Still talking about 3D models, I used Blender to convert some assets that I downloaded from Sketchfab. So some of them was in the extension that After Effects don't recognize, so I need to convert it using Blender. With all these tools in hand, we'll start from the scratch to the intro that impacts millions of people. So now we will get into the After Effects. Here, before we start to building our scenes, I will show you guys the original timeline. Just a reminder, we will build something from the scratch. So I just want to show you guys the original ones so you can see the truth behind some secrets that I will show you guys. So here we have the main composition with a lot of pre-composition. Here I pre-compose every single scenes to create more organized projects. So here I will go into a pre-comp just to show you guys what is inside it. And here in the first scene 3D statue plus gold plus war. It's just a rename that I made for this comp. We have a lot of layers here to make all the animations happen. So you can see through my rule here, all the scenes is happening with all this layer here. And inside this pre-comp, we have another pre-composition that have the first scene that we already made it. We will recreate some of those scenes. Will not be the full video because it will be a lot of content. Some videos like this, like 1 minute, I can spend like one full business day or two maybe. So it will not be doable to do in a tutorial. So we will go some main steps that I use it, like transitions like that one. So like that one too. You can see from this scene, for example, in the original one, if we go to our PSD file, which contains all the image you use there, you can see that is very different from what we have in the After Effects here. So the colors is different. We have some skies there. So all those things, you will know how to do it. So come back to the main subject of the class. First here, we need to create a composition. So here in After Effects, we can create a composition by clicking this button here, and we can set up all the property of this composition. For all Magnate Media file, we always do in 4K. So here we have the width and the height for the scene. We can put like this in the 4K composition. We have the frame rate, which is very important. In this case, for Magnate Media, I always use 30 as well. We can play around this by creating some in 60 or 120 or even 8. It's all up to you. So I already created this comp here for the class with all the settings we always use on Magnates Media projects, me, by myself. So the first thing we need to do here is to put some of our assets. So early on this course, I already told you guys about the organization of my assets. I will show you guys here. I have this folder with a lot of subfolder here. So I have the main one, Magnates Media. And inside that, I have render for all render things we have on the class. So proxies and all the stuffs. So here inside the render, I don't have subfolder, but I can create it to make it more organized. So here I can create like a proxy for all the proxies I will do in the class. I don't know if I will do it, but I can create here. So I can create like final version for the final product. Will I send to the client? Or I will upload on my own channel. So it's all up to you. You can customize this as you want. So here we have another folder here, the project files. We will show you guys about the After Effects today. And so I just have the After Effects file, project file here inside this folder. But I can have like the Premiere file here. The PSD, no, I will show you where, but I can have Premiere, I can have Blender and such of these things. So here we have another subfolder that is our goal here, the assets. Inside the assets, we have a lot of other subfolders. 3D assets as well. It will have all the 3D assets we will use in the video. We can download it later if we need it. But I already have like the John D. Rockfeller assets here. So it's all about 3D assets. All you need, it will be here. For the image, we will have all of our PNG files, JPG, all these files from image here. So I already have a lot of these assets with background removed. So I won't do anything about related to this, like use pen tool to remove the background because it will make the process a lot longer. So here we have all this image we already talked about. We will have a folder for music as well that we have no one here. I can't even delete it because we will not talk about it. We will have PSD. It's very important. So as in the original file here, we have this scene like this. This scene here, I made it in the PSD and then I animated here and make some enhancements. But all the raw job I did in the PSD in Photoshop. So I can show you guys here these scenes. The base image for these scenes is on Photoshop that I already show you. So let's get back to the After Effects, to the folder here. And just to show up the last folder is the video one where we will have like our skies that we need to put on the video. We will have some matte transitions that we can download from the environmental elements, particles, all the things that we can use as footage, as video. So about my organization for folder is that I highly recommend you guys to keep it organized because it will be easier to change something in the future on the video if you need it. So keep it organized. Now let's start to build our scene here. So let's start importing our PSD for the first scene. So I will go here in the PSD folder and we'll have a PSD file that is first scene. So I can just like grab this and go to the After Effects and it will open a new window for me to make some settings here. So I have this import kind that is very important. If I import this as footage, I will have like just one image with all the layer I have on the PSD. So it's not good for me. So I have the composition, which is the same as the last option. But here it will import the object with the aspect ratio I have in the composition, not the same layer size we have in the PSD, which is not good for us. So always use composition, retain layer size. So here we have another two options. We have layer options, which is editable layer styles. Here, what is it? In PSD, we have some tools that it's called layer styles. So like I have this ground here that you guys can see. If I double click in this layer, I have the layer styles window. So I can make it like color overlay. I can make it all gray with color overlay. If I press OK, it will be a layer style. This option in import in After Effects is about keep this layer style editable. So I can change it in the After Effects. It is good, but I don't recommend, because all the layer style jobs you need to do, you need to keep it finished in the Photoshop. You don't want to change it in After Effects. If you needed to change in the Photoshop, save again and import again. It's better, because After Effects and Photoshop have some difference in the software. So maybe if you put like a layer style, like color overlay to gray, if you import it as this editable layer styles here in After Effects, the gray can be different and it will not be good for you. So I always recommend you guys to merge layer styles into footage. So click OK, and we will have two new things here inside After Effects. We have a composition, as we already talked about. All this icon here is composition. And we will have a folder that collects all the layer we have in the Photoshop. So what we will do here, we will open this pre-comp here, this composition, not pre-comp, and we will copy and paste it to our final comp. So Ctrl-C to copy it, and Ctrl-V to paste it in the composition of the class. So now we have all the layer we have in the Photoshop, we will have here in the After Effects. As we use merged layer style, is the same. You can see here is the same thing. All right, we already have our assets here for the first thing. To make the animation here in After Effects, we need to enable the 3D object. So let's go. I will select all those things and go to the 3D objects here. So it all in 3D. So I can, for example, bring this ground layer here further. It will behind all this other layer here because it's further to the camera. Or I can bring this foreground tree. It is in the name, so it's closer to the camera. So I can bring it closer to the camera. But as we already saw here, I didn't have a camera yet. So I will create a camera. I can create it by clicking in the right button in the mouse. I can go in the new and camera to create a camera. It will open a camera settings here. Or I can just use a shortcut, because I highly recommend you to know about shortcut. Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and C. And I will open a camera settings window again, much faster, which is very important for us. So here we will have all the options for the camera settings. I always use 2-node cameras, and you'll see it later. Why? So here we have the presets. For those that already know about camera, it will be easier to understand. So we have the presets for cameras, for lens, right? So we have like 35 millimeters, which is the one that I always use. Not always, but at most. So I will select it as 35. I will make it better. I will see the original composition, which camera I had used. So let's go here, camera 28. So I will create a 28 millimeter camera. So here I will use 28. It's very important to be the same, because I will do real 3D objects and the camera will affect a lot. So here I have the camera and all the PSD files here, layer. So what I need to do is dispose this layer in the Z-axis to make to create a depth for this. So I will open here two views option like this, and you can see, I will zooming out here, that we have our camera, right? It is all, if I zoom in, it's all like a block. It's not different movements from the z-axis. So it's not what we want. We want to create some depth here. So to make it, I will put the camera in the original position here in the 0. So we can play around here with the z-axis. I need to create some depth. So I can put this foreground tree that I already renamed it in the Photoshop closer to the camera because it's foreground. So I can put it in the scene again. I have a lot of options here. I can decrease the scale like this to be more realistic. Depends on what you want. So I will make it bigger. I will bring it down. I can change it later. It's not the problem here, but I will put like this. It's pretty close to the original ones. If I go here to the zoom, we can see the position is pretty similar. So I will put this here. I will play around this middle ground tree here, which is middle, so it's between the foreground objects and the main objects, like is the ground. So I will not put it like too far from the ground because I made this project some months ago. I didn't know some techniques to enhance this result. So here I will follow the same material. So I can just here we can see the edges of this layer. So if I put the middle ground tree here too far from the ground, we can see the edges and it is not good for us. So what I can do to fix this is I can put it not too far from the ground like this, and I can create a mask. So I can make a mask here like this. I will solo mode this layer. If I click this little circle here, I can do the solo mode. So here in solo mode, I just see the middle ground tree. So I can create a mask here. So I will create this mask like this. I will change the path of this to, instead of add, I will make the subtract. So here I will drop down this menu and I will increase the mask feather so it will be more merged in the ground. So like this, it will be much better. So as you can see, the edges go out here. Of course, if I put it in another background, it will be easier to see that this tree is not from this image. So I will come back here. It's in the original position, a little in front of the ground, and I can play around with other layer. This mid background, I can rename it because I didn't like the name I put on the PSD. The Photoshop, I can put the middle ground oil tank. So I can put it further to the camera, but not too much from the ground too, because in the real space it is not too far from the ground. So I can scale it up again, make it more realistic. Always think about realism because it will make the video more immersive. So bring it back down here. All those things that I am doing here, it will be changed properly when I add the camera movement. You guys will see. So this oil factory here, it's too far. We can see that it's not close to the ground, especially from the scale, the details in the image. So we can put this oil factor further to the camera. Not too much, because it will be confused a lot when we animate it. So we can scale up again, put it here. Now we have another oil factor here. Let's see in solo mode. Right, this is here. It's far too, maybe the same or a little further. Like this, scale up again, and let's position this here. and we have another oil factory that is not too far. So we can just bring it a little further and scale up again. And all right, so we have this here. We can change it, play around, don't be stuck on the same. So it's all here. The oil tank is the same problem we had in the middle ground tree. We will keep it in the same position as the ground here. This layer is the ground. We have a troubleshot problems here layer that is water reflect. And you guys will see the purpose of this as soon as possible. So now that we already have all the layer in the z-axis, we can start animate our camera. Here is a very big tip for the camera movement, which is my signature camera movement. It's about to create new objects to control the camera. So as we already have a 2-node camera, as I already said you in the settings, 2-node camera, which I prefer. If we play around with the Z position, with the X position here, which will create a rotation. That is cool, but it's not the proper way to do that. So here we have the camera, we will create the null. We have 2 ways to do that. Right button, new, and null object, which is boring. So if you want a faster way and you need that, you can use the shortcut like Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and Y. So here I will create a null object here. So the null object, just to explain about that, it is objects that will not be displayed on the screen. So when you render this, it will not appear, all right, this red guide here. So it is about a controller for the objects. It can be for the camera, it can be for a layer. So it's a controller, right? So here I will rename it. Always rename your layer to camera controller. All right, so I will enable here again the 3D objects for the null object as well. And I will link using this tool here that's called parent and link. I will click here and hold and go to the camera controller. I can just release it and the object is already parented, which means everything that I do here, it will affect the camera as well. So to our camera movement, as close as the original one, we have like a zoom out combined with some rotation to give this impression here in the 3D object. So I will create firstly my camera movement, because if I set up all the scenes, put the color, put the 3D objects, all the stuffs, the project will be heavier. So much heavier, to be honest. So here we will create a zoom out. It will not be the same as the original one, but I will try to make something closer as possible. So here I will bring the keyframe, the end keyframe to the 3 seconds here. We can change it later. So put this here. So the scene start in the sky. So I can zoom in here. We can thinking about the sky here. I can create another keyframe to Y position and put it in the end and bring it up. So it's here, I think. So what I need to do here, I can just, let's move it. I can just play and you can see the movement is not too good because we need to make the animation curve, which is another very important tip. Always play with your curves. If you send a client or if you create a video for you without refine this process, it will be very amateur. So a lot of times the difference from a high-end product to a beginner. It's just about the animation curve. So play around here. Like we can select all the keyframes and use the shortcut F9. So here we will create a ease. You can see when we ease a keyframe, the shape of the keyframe will change. So here we have this shape, and when we press F9, it will be like this, which I don't know the name. So this is not enough yet. So if I play again, you can see that it's better, have an acceleration here and then lose speed through the time. It's not suddenly as the linear, which is the name of this one, as the linear keyframe, but it's better. So we can enhance it even more. So I can select again the keyframes. We can press this graph editor here and it will open a new possibility for us. So here we have two settings for the animation curves. We can play around with value graph and with speed graph. I like most to work on value graph, so I will always put it as value graph and I can play around here. A good tip for this is my After Effects is already customized in my own ways to work. So in the After Effects in general, all the layer we create, the position start merged like this. It's just position with two property here, but it's just one position, not like that, X, Y, and Z. Especially if I create here, enable here the 3D objects. So the problem here for those work with a value graph is if I create a keyframe here, it's not linked, so it will not change anything in the screen. If I create like a something here, animation, if I ease and I go to the graph editor, we will not able to edit this animation through the value graph. We can just use the speed graph here. So like this, we can play around too, but it's not good for me, which I like to use a lot of camera movement. So I always recommend you guys to use the value graph. And for this, you can right click on the mouse button here, separate the dimensions, and it will have separated X, Y, and Z position. So as in the same example, if I come back here to the graph editor, we'll put this at a value graph. We can see that I can just select the Z position, and now I have this handle. It will be the way I can change this, all right? So let's delete this new object here and select again the Z position of our camera controller. So this handle means like if I put it close to the initial ones, this curve represents that the movement will start faster than the end. So the objects will start here when the curves is like this, is more curved here. The speedness here will be higher in this peak here. If I play it here, you can see with your own eyes. So play here, we can see that it start slowly, and then in the middle, the peak of this curve, it will be faster. So like this, all right. So you guys can see like I made it for the Z position and I didn't make it for the Y position. So we have a difference in the speed here of the both animation. So you can see the camera zooming out faster than panned out, you know? So like this. If we just make the same animation curves here, we will have the camera panning down in the same moment that zooming out, like this. All right, it's more fluid, it's more natural, realistic. It's pretty cool. So this is the principle of camera movement here. we will reproduce the same movement or as close as possible for the original ones. So we have this. All right. To make our scene more easier to see the changes here, I will add a sky here. So here I can show you guys something that is, I already have the sky, the same sky I used it in the first video. So if I go to my folder here again, to the video, I have this sky, Bloody Head Sky 2021. This sky, the same sky I used it in the first video. But you don't need to use the same. I already downloaded in the free stock footage here some skies there. So I will show you guys. If I open here my browser, I can go to the Envato and I can search as sky. I always like to use cinematic as a keyword. So sky cinematic. It will show more beautiful footage than without cinematic keyword. So here we will have some skies and I will go specifically for that one, Bloody Sky. Let's see if we found it. Here, Blood Head Sky. We can just download here if you have an account on Elements, which I highly recommend you guys. It's a very good investment. But if you don't have this, it's not your reality. You can just go through another website, which can be the Pexels. It's a free website that offers assets with that is photos and videos. Like this, I can do the same thing I made in the Elements Envato. I can go to the sky and I will have a bunch of sky here. The only advice that I can tell you guys is to see the dimension of the sky here. As it is a free stock footage, maybe it cannot be high resolution. This one is 4K. Pretty cool for us, but it's not the mood we want to incorporate in the video. So like this bloody one, I like it. Red is closely the same, but it's full HD. It's not good for us because if we put footage here that is full HD, if I scale it up, it will be blurred, like low resolution. I don't like it. I like to use high resolution assets. Bring back here to the Pexels, we can try to find some high resolution stock footage, but it's very hard. I won't lie you. So, like this one, I like it. Let's see, full HD. So, just as example, let's see if we find something good here. All right, 4K, very good. The sky is not the best as possible. We can search it more, but just to show you guys. So we can click here to download in 4K, download, select the size and put in our folder. So here we can rename or not. I recommend you to rename, but I didn't do that. You can see like is the source name. So I will keep in the source name. Let's go back to the After Effects. We can just click here, go to the After Effects and import that. It will not open like a new window as the PSD. So here we have a sky. I will put it behind all the things and don't forget to enable the 3D objects. Here we will have a sky that is pretty cool. I like it. So I can put it further. I always like to think about real life. So in the real life, the sky is much further from us than like a, I don't know, like a tree or something. So I can put it further to the camera. So like this, maybe it will work. We can change it later. And now here we can scale it up again. It's not a problem because it's 4K. So it is smaller because of the Z-axis, not the footage as well. So scale it up like this. It's pretty cool. I like this guy. I will keep it. Bringing back to our scene. So we already have a sky, so we can see it if it will work properly. Like here, we don't have any empty space, so it's working. If we play with our zone that we already made it, like this, let's bring back again. I will press M to crop our work area here, so I can press 0. Oh my god, no, it's solo mode, sorry. Come back again. I can play the 0 to play the video, and we can see through all the animation. We made it. So please 0, all right. We can see a lot of problems here. It's totally normal. And this is why we have this layer here, which call water reflect. We have this layer here, and we can position this to fix this empty space we created here. Let's enable again the two view options and bring back this water reflect layer so we can cover all this thing up. So let's see what is this. This one is oil factory. That is. This one, not a problem. Let's bring this water reflect. You can see that I play it with this reflect. It's the same. So it is pretty cool, realistic, and it worked properly. Let's scale this up. Let's bring this here. All right, so we don't have any empty space anymore. So let's zoom out again. The tree. All right, the sand is start to gaining some form, some shape. So, all right, our zooming out is working. I will put this foreground tree here more close to the camera a little bit and bring it up like this maybe. Let's see. Always change, all right, guys? You will need to change and adapt things. After Effects only works when you play and see what is happening. Sometimes it will render something and see, all right, it can be enhanced. So you bring back to the After Effects and change again. So let's play this. All right, this is getting some shape. Great, great. So the next step, we can make it thinking about the workflow. If you are in a low performance PC, I don't recommend you to put the 3D object yet, but I will do it here. I will create to use the element 3D I mentioned it about. I can like create a solid layer, which can I go to the right button, new and layer, or I can click like Control Y. So this will open a tab here. I can rename it as element 3D, and I can click here to change the color. It will be more easier to identify that is element 3D, and I can just press OK. So now with our solid here, rename it as element 3D, we need to import the effects here. We can import the effects using a very good tool here. It's totally free and it's from Video Copilot too. So you can search on Google like FX Console, that is the name of this plugin, and you can install it in the After Effects easily. So this plugin, free plugin, can be used to import effects to our layer easily. So in the normal, original way, we need to click with right button, go to effects, search for the effects here. Oh my god, what is that? What is that? Until you found it to import. Or you can go to Windows, open the effects tabs that is here, effects and preset, that I will not open here because it will freeze my After Effects for a short time, but it will. So this is the faster way to import an effect to a layer. Speed is very important for us. So here I will use the shortcut. The original one is Control space to open the tab, but I change it to Shift space. So here I will click and it will open this tab here, but I will not go deep on this. It's pretty easy to use. So here I will search for element 3D. This is called just element. So Press enter, and here the solid will disappear, and we can have this effect here. We can go to scene setup, click here. It will open a 3D space inside After Effects. It sounds like another software, but it is the same. So here, with our 3D space, we can import objects here. I will copy and paste from the original ones. It will be faster, but to import is pretty easy. We can click here on import. We can go to our folder 3D assets, and we can select like this jump fracture that I made some effects in Blender. Click normalize size. We can just rotate it to the right position, rotate it again, and we will have the asset here. I will not go too deep here in Element 3D. It can be another class because it has a lot of things. So here I will paste the Element 3D that I already have. So you can see the Rockfeller is already here. So if we play, we can see that it's more slow to preview, right? We have a little problem there that I will show you guys. It's very important to know. When we work with Element 3D, if we go to the two view tabs here, we can see that, here, the Rockfeller is actually behind this layer here. This layer is here, and the Rockfeller is actually here, all right? But when we see here, the Rockfeller is actually in front of this layer. Why this is happening? This is happening because the Element 3D, as you can see, is not a 3D object, and you can't enable that because I don't know why, but you can't enable that because it won't work like this. You can see the effect needs to be a 2D layer. So we will select the Element 3D and his nose, all right, and put it behind the water reflect. So now we troubleshoot this problem. Here, the Rockfeller is behind our scene, as we have in the original ones. So I will change his position here, like bring it the both nose here a little closer, and maybe I can link this to the second one like this here, and scale it down a little. So it will not be the same. It's closely to impossible to make the same thing, but here we will have the scene with the 3D object. If we go to the original ones, we can see that which is pretty similar. So let's play. All right, it's working. We have the Rockfeller there. The trees here are working. But as we are using actually a 3D object, all right, we can play around with some things here. That is rotation. As we can see in the original one. So in the first frame, we can see that it's showing like the top of his head. So here, Control, Shift, Alt, Y. I create another null object. Instead of camera controller, I will rename it as rotator. So rotator, enable the 3D object here. And now it will work as a node for my camera. So if I put it like this here in the 3D space, when I link it to the camera, when I rotate it, it will rotate around this exact point. It is not what we want. We want to rotate around Rockfeller. So to make this, I will Ctrl Z here to erase what I did, my action, and I can parent this rotator to the null which is the same position we need. So to make it, I cannot just click to the parent equip and just go to the node that we want. We need to hold shift, right? Hold shift, click in the parent and link, and go to the object we want. Now we can see here in the 3D space that it is in the head of Rockfeller in the exact position that we need. So I will parent now the camera to the rotator, right? And when I play around the rotation, it will rotate around the Rockfeller as we want. So like this, you can see we can create very cool camera movements. So bring it back again, start the movement again. We can change our keyframe. So I will bring this camera up a little, not down, sorry. Ctrl Z, not down again. It is a little stuck. I can just hide the element 3D, which is heavy. Go to up here. I can keyframe the Y, let's see, no, the X rotation, put it as the end movement, and bring the value down, like minus 15. Here, 15. We can unhide the element 3D, and we can see that we have a pretty close frame we have here. Like we can bring our camera up again, just a little bit to be as close as possible. Like this. Let's hide this again to make it faster. Bring it up a little like this. And let's unhide this. It's pretty close, it's not the same, but you got the idea. So let's zoom in a little, like it's closer, the same. Let's be honest. Yes. So we will make the same camera movement. I have another tool that is completely free here. That is called Motion Tool Panel. And we have a tool there that copy the same keyframe curves that I made from one property to another. And it's very useful and time saver. So I can select this that I already made the animation curves. So select this. I can click this button to copy. I will not go deep on this. And I can select another one and click this to paste the same animation curve. So let's select this one. You can see it is the same. As all plugins in the After Effects, it can have some problems, some bugs to fix it, but it's very time saver. Let's play R0 to play the scene. We can see something. All right. Let's wait a bit. 3D is very heavy, so don't mind about that. It will be heavier ASAP. So let's press 0 again to reproduce just the range we already have. So 0. All right, we can see the movement. It's working. It's working. Great. All right. So the movement, the first camera movement is already here. We have some other stuffs here, like when the camera is zooming out here, it came up again to show the John Rockfeller Foley, to Foley show John D. Rockfeller. We can recreate that. And because we have another very cool tip here. If I go here to create another keyframe, delete this one, and go forward to create another keyframe here to reposition our camera, it will be harder to do. So what we can do to create another movement above older movement, we can create another new object. So Ctrl Shift Alt Y. We have another camera controller here. I will rename it as 2. So enable the 3D. Click, don't use your rule here to change the position. Keep it the same. Click here to parent to the camera controller. And don't forget to parent this new camera controller to the rotator. All right. So let's press P to open the position, and we can create this movement. So now we have our camera movement. Playing again. I will, just to make the preview faster, I will go to Element 3D. I will not go deep on this. I will go to render mode here, change through render to preview, right? It will be a little faster to preview. So let's play again, much more, much faster. So it's a little weird, this movement. It's too strong. So I will make more space here, and I will decrease the intensity of the curve. So let's see how it's going on. Play again. All right, back, more. We need to make like something like this. Maybe as the camera is zooming out, we can keep the zooming out a little. So we will put this camera closer a little. Put this camera forward like this. All right. So here we keyframe the Z position in this new controller again and zoom out again. Not too much. Like, not this, like this is working. All right, let's select our keyframe, copy the animation curves, paste it again. So play, let's play this. This has become heavier. All right, oh, much better. It's not the same, but it's much better than the first one. All right, we can like make the first zooming out a little longer, and now, all right, this is pretty cool. It is much more smooth, as you can see here. So the next movement we have in our scene, it is, if we go to the composition here, not this, I can close this one, the original one, we can see that the camera go to the tree and review another scenes. I know that is very curious. A lot of people ask me about this transition, and you will know about the secret. So let's make the first movement here. Like, we want to review the John D. Rockfeller. All right, it's a little slow, I know it. All right, the After Effects is pretty slow. Another tip we can do is go to the Edit tab here. We can go to the Purge and All Memory and Disk Cache. It will erase all the temporary files that the After Effects will create. As you can see, it's like full my disk with this. So click OK. It will take a little. I will cut this. So I erase all the temporary files that the After Effects created. So let's play it again, much faster. So, all right, here we have this movement. So once we get here, we will have in the second 5 around it, transition. It's a pan left with the camera to this tree, this foreground tree, and this will reveal a new scene. So the first thing I have to do is like the tree is here, and we can see like a space here. We cannot see that because the tree needs to hide the edges, because when we pass to it, it will reveal another scene. So let's pick this foreground tree, put it close to the camera like that. Maybe, yes, we can do that. It's not that much. Here, we cannot see the edges, so we can do the transition. It's hiding something behind this tree. So this is what we want. So I always like to play with overlap keyframe in the camera because it will make the camera always moving. It's not good to watch a video when the camera is stuck and create this froze image like this with some handle movements. It's not good. So in the other hand, it's not good too to have a camera movement too strong. It's always smooth. It's smooth as butter. So we will create here. We don't need to create another null here because we will have a lot of nulls here. We have two nulls with that we didn't work with X position. So around here in the 4, when the camera is closed to stop the movement, we can keyframe the X here, go just some frames forward, like 10, 20, 30, maybe 40, all right? It's a little more than a second. And we go to the 3. All right, nothing is happening because we didn't do the transition yet. Let's make like this here. All right, we have the transition already made it. So if we play it, we go here and then pull. All right, the animation curves is very important and it's not properly done. So up in the animation curves, put it here and this here. When we have transition, it needs to be a strong movement. Not needs to be, but it can be. So if we play it again, all right, let's see. All right, let's play 0 again to watch this properly. All right, much better, much better. So let's watch it again with the full workspace here and there. All right, great, great, it's perfect. All right, our first scene is set up. So before we create the next scene, we need to put this more close to this, you know, the original ones. The first thing we can see here is this, the color isn't the same. I can go to the composition here, the original ones, and I can show you guys that I used a lot of effects to make the color more beautiful. So if we go here to the middle ground tree, we can go to the basic correction that I play around the material color. I play around with temperature, tint, exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, all these things to make it more beautiful. I will not go too deep on this, so I will just copy and paste. Let's see what's happening here. You can play around in the Lumetri color. We have a lot of tabs here, creative, curves, a lot of tabs. So in the basic correction here, maybe you can increase the temperature that will make the image more yellow, you know? So if I bring it up a lot, you can see the difference here. It's more orange or something. So I will make the same, all right? I will put it in the sky, but not the same because sky is already in the color palette. So I can decrease here, like for 10 in the temperature. I can decrease the contrast to 10. You can play around here, spend a lot of time doing this. All right, I have this effect. I have effect here for the water reflect because the water is fluid. It's not stuck it as this. So as I made in the original ones, we can go here, go to the water reflect layer here, and you can see that I have turbulent displace effect. It's another effect that creates some displacement in the layer, some distortion. So you can see here, if I apply this to the water reflect, the water is moving right now. So playing, you can see it's look like a water, you know? So play around this. I will not show everything that I do because we will not have time for this. So here we can see that it's not the same yet. All right, we have a different sky, but that is not the problem. The problem here is the original ones. I have some light here that is native from the After Effects. So I can copy this. I will not copy this. I will create this. It's pretty easy. So let's change the view to 2 windows. I will create a light with shortcut Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and L. So it will create this new tab here. I know that I have a strong light and a less intensive light. So like this one, I will create this less intensive one, like this, and put it like this. I can play around this, find a better place to put it. Like this, I like it. So I will duplicate the same light, all right? Control D. So I will duplicate the light. I will increase the intensity to 300, which is the same I used in the original one, and press enter or click OK. This is very, very bright. So I will put it here behind some layer, and you can see that we are reaching a similar visual that we have in the original one. So if we go to the original one, we can see it's not the same. We have a lot of difference here, but the problem is the sky is too bright in this new one, all right? Because 300 intensity for light for some objects, it's heavier than a 3D object as the Rockfeller there. So what we can do, and what I did in the original one, I will go to the sky, which is bright. I can go to material options, and I will turn off this accept lights. So it will bring back the original color. The lights won't affect this layer, any lights. So now we have a more close results here. So I will decrease a little, like to 15 here, and bring this light more close to the object. All right, now that we have our scene with the light, we have some silhouettes here, and we can go to another steps. Like we have a text here that match with the voiceover when John said, "Now we will know about John D. Rockfeller," or something like that. I will be the same. I will copy the paste from the original ones. I will put it here. Let's see if it will be properly here in the 3D space. All right, let's see here. John D. Rockfeller. Like this. John D. Rockfeller. So it's here. It's happening. I can just increase the size here a little, like this. I like to see some layer overlapping others. It creates sense of depth. So the text here is here. I can show you guys, but I will not teach every details because we will not have time for this. But for animate, in animation for the text, I animate through this. I click here, go to opacity, character offset, as you can see here, character offset and opacity, and play around this here. Probably you learned about this on the course, so you can do it, of course. So here we reach a pretty similar results. It's not the same. We will enhance it, and I will show you what I did in the original ones. It's very time consuming, so I will not make it again, but you can see that I have much more layered here, all right? Like the number count here for our new scenes is like 20 layer, and the original ones is like 25, so we have more layer there. The first thing that I can show you guys that I have is like these scenes that is like a VFX of some clouds and storm, because Rockfeller is a very powerful, so I show it up from the sky. I can just copy and paste there so you can see the difference in the new scene. So copy that, solo mode, turn it down. Let's see what is here in the 3D space. We can bring it here, decrease the scale, which is very high, by the way. So we can put it here. And you can see that the scene is much more similar to the original one. We have another cosmetic layer here in the first scene. So we have like this layer, which is a solid layer that I made to make this region of the scene more darker. It's like something color correction here. It's not color correction properly, but it's close to the same. So I can paste it so you can see the difference. Like this, it creates like a haze to increase the depth sense. I can bring it forward so you can guys see. It is a pretty simple detail, little one, but it makes a lot of difference in the final result. To bring the scene more live, we have some smoke here that we can just hear. This one in the factory that is behind the tree. All right, this one we have here. Another one we have here. I will not copy and paste it because it will be time consuming to put it in the same position. So coming back to our scene, we have a setup, the camera movement, and the transition to a new scene. I made this video few months ago, which I have different techniques to do the same thing. After Effects is all about that. You need to use it and find new ways and improved ways to do the same thing. Your job will be more professional and faster. And now you can see when we make the transition movement here, in the original one, what I did. I make a pre-composition here, which is more time consumer. Like I have the pre-composition here with this scene happening. And then I have this new scene here outside the pre-composition. What I did, I duplicate all the camera. I put the tree here outside the composition, as you can see. The tree is here outside the composition, like this, you can see now. And make the movement and start a new scene. For this new method, I found out, I found it by myself, to be honest. We can like create a matte track. It's a very useful tool here in After Effects. So the camera movement is happening. I don't need to pre-compose anything. I just go to the camera keyframe here in the start of this. I will create a shape layer that I didn't have a shortcut, but I highly recommend you to have shape layer here. I can rename it as a matte, all right? And enable the 3D object for this. All right, so I will put this empty shape layer that has nothing inside of this. I will put it in the same position of the tree. So I'll go to the foreground tree. I can rename it to make it easier, like foreground tree transition or something, so you can recognize this easier. I can change the label. You can do by your own. The matte is here, and I will go to the middle of the transition and I will trace a path. I will create a shape inside this shape layer. Like this. I will put it as a square, rectangle, and go here. I will change the color. So let's go to the materials options. Accept the light, we can put it off so we can see the color. It is important to see what is happening. So here we have the matte layer. We will put it as it in the same z-axis. I can put it below the foreground tree, so it will be below the foreground tree. So we can see here a little problem happening. Let's bring this in the right position, and I can keep it linked in the foreground tree. So when the camera goes to the new scene, we can see all green. All right, it is what we want to. So let's scale this up to keep all the screen filled by this matte, put it as one view, and to optimize your After Effects performance, we'll cut this layer here, pressing Alt and slash. So we need to put our rule where we want to cut it and do the shortcut. So now we won't have anything happening here, so the After Effects will run faster. All right, so let's build our next scene. All right, it's happening here. So let's go to our folder. We go to Assets and Image. Here I have all the image I used in the intro. So I will go to the one that I made for this next scene, which is gold background here, which is this one. I will put it here. I will put it in the composition. All right. I will not enable the 3D yet. So let's import the new ones. So let's bring all these body parts here to the After Effects. I can go it here, put it in the timeline. It's all in the position. Let's label this new layer as different colors so we can see it. It's from a new scene, like purple and orange. And let's see if it's missing some parts. It isn't. So I will link this like the dorsal. I need to link the arm to the dorsal. I need to link the arm to the dorsal again and the dorsal to the body. All right, I have this. I can move it as a single image. I can, like, let's see the original image. All right, I have some gold bar there. All right, so let's bring the last asset, not the last, just for this moment, the last asset we have, which is the golden bar foreground. So we'll import this for the composition, relabel in another color like pink, and now I can enable the 3D objects for this. To make it easier, I will parent all those things in the gold background. It will be easier. So with this layer here, I can put two viewers layer. I will hide the matte, and I will put this properly in the 3D space. I will speed it up so you guys can just see it.